Sicily is being buried by a landslide catastrophe. 500 people were evacuated as an entire mountain collapses and buries everything below. Families in Niscemi, Sicily were preparing Sunday lunch when they heard something that froze them in terror, a deep rumble from beneath the earth. Then residents looked outside and saw cracks appearing in the asphalt, like someone was slowly tearing a sheet of paper. Within minutes, 500 people had to abandon their homes as the ground literally slid out from under them. The mayor declared it a dramatic landslide event. Entire neighborhoods vanishing. Roads split in half. But here is what has scientists in complete panic. This is the second massive landslide to hit Niscemi in just 9 days. The first one had a front of 1 mile, like 20 soccer fields lined up, with the earth dropping the height of a 2-story building. Now geologists are detecting something even more terrifying. The ground is still moving. Monitoring equipment shows the soil continues sliding toward the valley. The city is now isolated, with only one road remaining open. Are we watching 2 separate disasters? Or is this one massive geological collapse that is expanding and could consume an entire Sicilian city? January 25th, 2026, 1 p.m. Central European Time. Families in the Santa Croce neighborhood of Niscemi, Sicily, gather for Sunday lunch when the sound begins. A deep rumble, not thunder, not construction. A boom that seems to come from beneath the earth itself. Within seconds, residents rush to their windows and witness something that looks like a scene from a disaster movie. Cracks appear in the asphalt. Not small fractures, but deep fissures that spread across the street like someone is slowly tearing a sheet of paper. The ground is literally opening up before their eyes. Some residents make the mistake of going outside to investigate. They immediately feel the earth trembling beneath their feet. It is not an earthquake. The ground is sliding. The entire hillside is moving toward the Beneficio stream. The realization hits with terrifying clarity. They are standing on a mountain that is collapsing. Mayor Massimiliano Gioia activates emergency protocols immediately. Within minutes, he broadcasts a Facebook Live video that sends chills through anyone watching. He calls it a dramatic landslide event. When a mayor who lives in that community and knows the terrain intimately uses the word dramatic, the situation is beyond serious. 500 people are forced to abandon their homes in a matter of minutes. The scale is staggering. Imagine evacuating an entire middle-class neighborhood faster than it takes to watch a movie. Families grab emergency bags, children and elderly relatives. Videos recorded by fleeing residents show walls collapsing, asphalt buckling, and the continuous, terrifying sound of earth in motion. Provincial Road 10, the main artery connecting the Ponticello neighborhood to downtown Niscemi, is completely destroyed. The pavement splits apart. Vehicles are abandoned. The city's access routes are collapsing one by one. Emergency responders describe chaos unlike anything in their experience. There was no warning, no time to prepare, just the rumble, the cracks, and then people running for their lives as the mountain beneath them slides into the valley. 9 days earlier, January 16, 2026, the first warning strike hits Niscemi with devastating force. This is not a small geological event. This is a mega landslide that reshapes the entire landscape in a matter of hours. The landslide front measures 1 mile across, 1.6 kilometers. To help visualize the scale, picture 20 soccer fields lined up end to end. Now imagine that entire length of terrain simply sliding downhill. The numbers from Sicily's Regional Civil Protection paint a catastrophic picture. The total area affected covers 0.4 square miles, 1 square kilometer. That is equivalent to 140 soccer fields worth of earth in motion. The scarps, the vertical steps that form when the ground cracks and shifts, reach heights of 20 to 23 feet, 6 to 7 meters. That is the complete height difference of a 2-story building. The earth literally drops 2 floors in elevation. Provincial Road 12 is obliterated. The pavement does not just crack. It splits in half and displaces from its original level entirely. Drivers who used that route hours earlier return to find the road has vanished into a geological chasm. Infrastructure collapses across the region. The methane network supplying natural gas to hundreds of homes ruptures. Gas lines are severed. The fiber optic cable bringing internet connectivity to the entire region is damaged beyond immediate repair. Communications go dark. 35 residents in the Belvedere Canale area receive emergency evacuation orders. They have minutes to leave homes their families have occupied for generations. But here is the detail that makes this even more terrifying. The movement does not stop. Technicians from Italy's Research Institute for Hydrogeological Protection install monitoring equipment and watch in real time as the displacement continues. The soil keeps sliding toward the Morgione River Valley, slowly, relentlessly, day after day. This is not a single catastrophic event that ends. This is an ongoing geological collapse. The data shows ground movement accelerating after rainfall. Regional officials realize they are witnessing unprecedented instability. The warnings are clear. The danger is far from over. Yet 9 days later, nature proves that the January 16th disaster was only the beginning. Between January 18th and January 21st, 2026, Cyclone Harry sweeps across Sicily's coast with a violence the region has not witnessed in 6 decades. This is the invisible killer, the trigger that sets the stage for catastrophe. The rainfall data is staggering and terrifying. 22.4 inches fell in just 72 hours across parts of neighboring Calabria, equal to 570 millimeters in 3 days. The average annual precipitation for some areas of Sicily measures 15.7 to 23.6 inches, 400 to 600 millimeters for an entire year. In other words, 3 days received practically all the rain that should fall over 12 months. It is like taking an entire year's worth of rain and compressing it into a single weekend. The scale is staggering. Domenico Costarella, Regional Director of Calabria's Civil Protection, classifies Cyclone Harry as a once-in-a-century event. This is not an authority figure exaggerating to grab attention. The meteorological data confirms the severity. A monitoring buoy positioned between Sicily and Malta recorded waves measuring 52 feet high, 16 meters, the largest wave ever recorded in the history of the Mediterranean Sea. To put this in perspective, 16 meters is higher than a 5-story building. But here is what makes Cyclone Harry the true villain in this disaster story. All that water that slammed the coast also fell on Sicily's interior. It fell on Niscemi. It dropped 1.6 feet of water, half a meter, in a matter of days, onto terrain that is already naturally unstable because of its geological composition. The soil became completely saturated. Clay layers that normally hold together lost all cohesion. They transformed into dense mud, incapable of supporting the weight of upper layers. Cyclone Harry created a ticking time bomb. The water penetrated deep into the hillside. Gravity pulled everything downward. The combination of extreme rainfall and unstable geology is not coincidence. It is direct causation. The cyclone did not just damage Sicily, it fundamentally destabilized the ground beneath an entire city, and 9 days later, that time bomb exploded. The situation on the ground in Niscemi is critical, bordering on desperate. The city is practically isolated from the rest of Sicily. Provincial Road 10, which connected the Ponticello neighborhood to downtown Niscemi, is completely closed because of the January 25th landslide. Provincial Road 12 has been blocked since January 16th because of the first mega landslide. This leaves only a single road open for entering and exiting the city, Provincial Road 11. Think about the absurd logistics. A city of 25,000 inhabitants, with only one functional access route to the state road connecting Gela and Catania. Any additional problem on this last road, and Niscemi is literally cut off from the rest of the island. The Pater Sports Palace, normally used for basketball games and sporting events, transforms into a massive emergency shelter within hours. The regional civil protection mobilizes an impressive response. Hundreds of camp beds are transported from Palermo. 70 volunteers deploy to the site to assist displaced families. Department head Salvo Coccina arrives personally in Niscemi to coordinate operations. He maintains direct contact with regional president Renato Schifani as the crisis escalates. Schools close until further notice. This is not a closure for a day or two. It is indefinite until the situation stabilizes. Minister of Civil Protection and Sea Policies. Nello Musumeci guarantees full support from the national government. Technical teams dispatch from Rome to support overwhelmed local personnel. The emergency shelters fill beyond capacity immediately. Families arrive with nothing but emergency bags, children crying, elderly residents requiring medical attention that volunteer staff struggle to provide. A crucial investigation is happening right now. Specialists are trying to determine if there is a direct correlation between the January 16th landslide and the January 25th disaster. Is this the same geological movement expanding across the hillside, or are they two separate catastrophic events occurring in the same cursed location? The answer will determine whether Niscemi faces isolated incidents or one massive hillside collapse that could continue consuming neighborhoods for weeks. Nobody knows when families can return home. The testimonies are haunting. Residents describe this as 1997 all over again. The same area suffered a similar landslide at that time. Now history repeats with even greater intensity. The Niscemi region sits on what geologists call clay sand units. Translating from technical language, this is a mixture of clay with sand that forms extremely unstable sedimentary layers. Clay behaves predictably when dry. It holds together relatively well. But the moment clay absorbs water, it completely loses its ability to maintain cohesion. It transforms into paste, dense mud, a substance that can no longer support the weight of the upper soil layers. This is the fundamental vulnerability beneath Niscemi. But the geological nightmare gets worse. The area is historically known for Calanchi phenomena. These are deep ravines formed by constant erosion over decades, centuries actually. The terrain has been wearing away long before anyone built homes there. Water carves channels, soil washes into valleys. The ground becomes Swiss cheese with weakened structural integrity throughout. Now add another aggravating factor. The zone is situated on a slope that descends toward the Morgione River Valley. Gravity is not a neutral force here. It is literally pulling everything downward, every single moment. So you have unstable clay sand soil that turns to mud when wet, sitting on a steep slope, already eroded by decades of rainfall, with gravity constantly pulling it toward the valley below. This is the perfect recipe for geological disaster. Data from Italy's Research Institute for Hydrogeological Protection confirms what local geologists have known for years. This area ranks among the most dangerous places in Sicily for landslides. There is no quick fix. This is not a problem solved by better drainage or retaining walls. This is fundamental terrain instability. When Cyclone Harry dumped half a meter of water onto Niscemi in 3 days, that water penetrated deep into the clay layers. The weight of water combined with gravitational pull creates catastrophic conditions. Once clay loses cohesion, a chain reaction begins. Upper layers lose support and they start sliding. Each movement destabilizes adjacent areas. The potential for a much larger collapse exists right now beneath Niscemi. Geologists monitoring the situation watch for signs of expanded instability. The historical pattern is undeniable. In 1997, the same location suffered a similar landslide. The terrain has geological memory. These are repeated failure points. And right now, after Cyclone Harry, Every failure point across the hillside is activating simultaneously. 500 people evacuated on January 25th alone. Families fled with only emergency bags clutched in their arms. Videos captured by residents show the disaster unfolding in real time. People filming their own neighborhood's destruction as they run. A community of 25,000 now lives in complete uncertainty. The single remaining road, Provincial 11, is both lifeline and vulnerability. Emergency shelters reached capacity within hours. The Paytor Sports Palace transformed from a venue for basketball games into a scene of human displacement. Camp beds were arranged in rows across the gymnasium floor. Children cried. Elderly residents who required medical attention strained the capacity of volunteer staff. Residents described the terror of feeling the ground tremble beneath their feet during evacuation. You cannot outrun the earth itself. Older residents remember 1997. The collective trauma resurfaces. They thought that disaster was once in a lifetime. Now, 29 years later, they are living through it again. The psychological impact is devastating. Imagine living in an area where the ground could slide out from under you at any moment. Economic devastation ripples through the community. Homes are potentially lost forever, small businesses destroyed. Niscemi's economy collapses as commercial activity grinds to a halt. Agriculture suffers catastrophic losses. Landslides consume farmland that families have cultivated for generations. Provincial roads critical for commerce now lie destroyed beneath tons of displaced earth. Supply chain disruptions affect the entire region as the city remains isolated. Families are split apart. Some evacuated to emergency shelters. Others are staying in zones deemed temporarily safer. Children's education is disrupted. Schools closed indefinitely. Medical access becomes compromised with limited road infrastructure. Ambulances must travel longer routes. Response times increase. Community bonds are tested under crisis conditions that show no signs of ending. Nobody knows the timeline for return. It could be months. It could be never. Property values are destroyed. Who purchases a home on a hillside that is actively sliding into a valley? Insurance questions emerge. Do policies cover geological disasters of this magnitude? The regional government promises support, but the scale overwhelms available resources. The national government deploys assistance from Rome, but solutions remain unclear. Testimonies from displaced residents show determination mixed with despair. They want to return home, but home might not exist anymore. The mountain beneath it refuses to stop moving. Landslides do not stop like earthquakes. An earthquake hits, and it is over. The shaking ends. Landslides can continue moving for days, weeks, even months in some cases. This is why continuous monitoring is absolutely essential before releasing any area back to residents. Technicians must know if the earth is still sliding. Measuring equipment installed across the hillside tracks soil displacement in real time. Every millimeter of movement gets recorded and analyzed. A critical investigation is happening right now that will determine Niscemi's future. Are the landslide on January 16th and the disaster on January 25th connected, or are they separate events? If they are connected, the entire hillside could be in slow-motion collapse. One massive geological failure expanding outward, consuming more neighborhoods with each passing day. Geologists watch the data for signs of acceleration. Any increase in movement velocity means catastrophe is imminent. Any additional rainfall could trigger new disasters. The ground remains saturated. Clay layers have not regained cohesion. The next storm becomes the next trigger. Climate patterns show more frequent extreme weather events across the Mediterranean. Cyclone Harry was classified as a once-in-a-century event, but the century is not over. Record wave heights and extreme rainfall are becoming more common. Niscemi represents a larger pattern across southern Italy. Hydrogeological instability is increasing region-wide as climate change intensifies. The government faces a brutal decision: rebuild or relocate. Can infrastructure be salvaged, or is the area too dangerous for continued habitation? Some European cities already face similar calculations. Cost-benefit analysis of allowing people to return versus permanent displacement. Monitoring will determine if residents can ever go home. But even if movement stops, the next major storm could restart the entire process. Geologists warn the area will remain high risk indefinitely. The community must confront the possibility they are permanently displaced. Historical memory shows a 29-year cycle between major landslides. Will 2055 bring another disaster? The Regional Civil Protection develops long-term monitoring protocols. The national government considers comprehensive geological mapping of similar risk zones across Sicily. Niscemi is becoming a case study for climate-induced geological disasters. International attention focuses on Mediterranean hydrogeological threats as extreme weather patterns accelerate. The question is no longer if other communities will face similar crises, but when and how many. 9 days, 2 massive landslides, 1 small Sicilian city fighting for survival, 500 families displaced to emergency shelters, 25,000 residents living with uncertainty that grows heavier each day. Niscemi is isolated. Only one road remains open as a lifeline to the outside world. Provincial Road 11 is all that stands between connection and complete cutoff from the rest of Sicily. Cyclone Harry triggered a disaster that refuses to end. The once-in-a-century storm dumped half a meter of rain in 3 days onto terrain that geologists already classified as extremely unstable. The ground is still moving. Monitoring equipment tracks displacement in real time. Technicians watch the data, searching for signs that the hillside will stabilize. But the fundamental question remains unanswered. Will Niscemi residents ever return home? The implications extend far beyond one Italian city. Is this the Mediterranean's new reality? Climate change is making once-in-a-century storms more frequent, more intense, more destructive. Geological instability meets extreme weather in a deadly combination that coastal communities across southern Europe must now confront. Niscemi's crisis continues as measuring instruments record the Earth's slow-motion collapse. Scientists analyze, officials plan, families wait. The mountain beneath the city refuses to stop sliding. Gravity pulls. Saturated clay loses cohesion. Upper layers continue their journey toward the Morgione River Valley. The disaster is far from over. The evacuation orders remain in effect. The emergency shelters stay full. And beneath it all, the ground keeps moving. This is not the end of Niscemi's geological nightmare. It is only the beginning.